alcohols are an example of a homologous series, a family of compounds containing the similar structure, chemical properties, and the same functional group. The functional group for alcohols is OH. As mentioned in the naming video, the suffix that is used for naming alcohols is nol or anol, and the prefix is the number of carbons as usual, hence methanol, ethanol, propanol, butanol, etc. The alcohols are not hydrocarbons because they contain an element other than hydrogen and carbon. They contain an oxygen. The alcohols are good solvents. They're very flammable. The ethanol in particular is used as a fuel. They are used as a disinfectant, for example, in hand sanitizer. They are a very important raw material. They're used to make esters. Go and watch the ester video if you are unfamiliar with how that works. The alcohols have a higher melting and boiling point than their equivalent hydrocarbon. So methanol has a higher melting and boiling point than methane. And in fact, the alcohols, even the smallest ones, are liquids at room temperature. As the alcohols are a homologous series, they all share the same general formula. The general formula for the alcohols is CnH2n plus 1 OH. So that means we've got double the number of hydrogens plus 1 and then the OH. Notice that the hydrogen that is in the functional group is not counted in the number of H's. Alcohols can be manufactured from alkenes by the addition of steam. Steam, of course, just being very hot water. The catalyst for that is phosphoric acid. And the double bond in the alkene will break, and the OH from the water and the other H from the water will add onto it and become an alcohol. In particular, the alcohol ethanol is very important, and there are two main ways of manufacturing ethanol. The first way is, as we just saw, hydration of ethene with steam. Now, the benefits of this method are it is a very fast process. There's no waste products. 100% of the raw materials are converted into ethanol. It is efficient. Yeah, you don't need any other products. There's nothing to skim out. You get a very high yield, 100% yield. And the ethanol that comes out is pure. This is the method used for making industrial ethanol, so fuels and solvents and things like that. The downsides to this, the main one, is that it is a non-renewable process. The alkene, the ethene that is used, comes from crude oil and natural gas. So that is a non-renewable resource. It is also energy intensive. You need very high temperatures, and you need large specialized equipment and machinery. So it's expensive to set up. It's cheap once it gets going, but it's expensive to set up, and it uses a lot of energy, so it's not good for the environment. The second way of manufacturing ethanol is actually a biological process. It is the fermentation of sugar, in particular glucose, using yeast. Yeast is an organism, contains an enzyme, and when yeast carries out anaerobic respiration, so respiration without any oxygen, it will create ethanol. And this can be done just in a sealed plastic container. So it's very cheap. The raw materials are renewable. It's sugar and yeast. The conditions, it can't be done above 37 degrees Celsius because that will denature the enzymes in the yeast and it will die. So it can be done at very low temperatures. Disadvantages are it's a lot slower than hydration of ethene. And the main disadvantages is that you don't get pure ethanol. Yeast can only make ethanol up to a concentration of around 15 to 17%, depending on the species of the yeast. And everything you will have to extract the ethanol from that mixture of water and leftover sugar and yeast cells, which you can do by distillation. So that a very common exam question is to compare those two methods. Okay, that was a very, very short look at alcohols. There's not much more to it than that. Thanks for watching.